In League of Legends, there are a massive amount of items. This video goes over all the attack damage fighter items and when you should consider buying them. Champions that tend to buy these items are usually fighters wanting both attack damage and tanky stats. For these fighter mythics, you have Divine Sunderer, Triforce, Gore Drinker, and Stridebreaker, all of which grant health, attack damage, and ability haste. Divine Sunderer has a passive where after using an ability, your next attack deals additional damage, scaling with your opponent's maximum health, and heals you, with the mythic passive granting you Armor Pen and Magic Pen. This should be considered on fighters that want to use abilities often. Triforce also grants attack speed, gives additional movement speed, and after using an ability, your next attack deals additional damage, with a mythic passive granting attack damage, ability haste, and bonus movement speed. This should be considered on champions that use abilities often and want the extra mobility. Gore Drinker grants Omnivamp and has an active which deals damage in a circle around you and heals you, with a mythic passive that grants health and ability haste. This should be considered if you want to deal damage and heal. And Stridebreaker also provides additional attack speed and movement speed, and gives an active which deals damage in a circle around you and slows. This should be considered on champions that want the additional mobility and the slow. For AD items which also grant defensive stats, we have Black Cleaver, Death Stance, Maw, and Starax Gauge, all of which provide attack damage. Black Cleaver also provides ability haste and health, and upon damaging a champion you gain movement speed and reduce their armor. You should consider this on champions that can apply many instances of damage. Death Stance also grants ability haste and armor, and has a passive that causes you to ignore a certain amount of damage and take it over time instead. And if you get a takedown, you remove this damage over time and heal. This should be considered on champions that want to be team fighting often while protecting against AD threats. Maw also grants magic resist, and when you go below 30% health you gain a large shield which blocks magic damage and grants you lifesteal. This should be considered when you want to deal damage and protect yourself against AP threats. Starax Gauge also grants health and has a passive where you gain a good amount of additional attack damage. And if you go below 30% health you gain a large shield scaling with your health. Any champion that wants to get tanky and deal damage should consider this. For more utility focused fighter items we have Chainsword and Silvermere Dawn, both of which grants health and attack damage. Chainsword also provides a massive amount of ability haste and will apply grievous wounds, so this is great to consider when you want to reduce your enemy's healing. Silvermere Dawn also grants a large amount of magic resist and has the Quicksilver Sash passive. This allows you to remove the effect of most lockdowns in the game. This item should be considered against champions with insane lockdown like Mordekaiser and Malzahar ultimates, as purely a direct counter to them if you're constantly the target. For more split push focused fighter items we have Hullbreaker and Titanic Hydra, both of which grant health and attack damage. Hullbreaker also provides health regen, and it has an incredibly unique passive where if no allies are nearby you gain a good amount of additional armor, magic resist, and additional damage against structures. In addition, while in game you can ping the item, and it will let you and your allies know if they're too close and removing the beneficial effects from you. In addition, it also buffs siege and super minions nearby. This should be considered on any champion who's looking to split push for most of the game, being incredibly gold efficient. Titanic Hydra has a passive where you gain AD scaling with bonus health and makes your attacks damage in a cone. This should be considered on any champion that attacks a lot or wants to push minion waves incredibly fast. And finally, we have a very unique item in Guardian Angel which provides attack damage and armor. This should be considered on any champion that wants a second chance in late game team fights, which honestly is most of the champions in the game that want attack damage and armor. Where this isn't a core item for any champion, it's a great pickup for your final item.